Okay, so the big debate, hardware versus DAW, DAW versus hardware, where do you stand on it? And to be honest with you, if you know how to make music on anything, just really learn how to use it. That's pretty much it. But I do have to say this. Hardware does take longer, but it comes out sounding just a little bit better. Bolo! All right, first things first, if you do not have my drum kits, go ahead and get my drum kits right now. They are all super cheap. They're only $10 for each kit. And some of you guys have been sending over some really dope beats using my drum kits. Thank you guys so much. And if you guys want to see my drum kits in action, just go to any one of my videos where I'm making beats and I pretty much use my drum kits there. So go ahead and get my drum kits. Click that link in the description right now to go ahead and get my drum kits. And hopefully it will make you a hit. Also, if you guys need some equipment, go to zZounds.com. Go ahead and click that link in the description. If you're trying to get some equipment and you might not have all the funds right now, zZounds has a ton of items on their site that you can get with no credit check, no background check, and just get some easy payments and pay the items off that way. It is very simple, very easy. It's not all of the items on the site, but it is most of the items on the site that you can go ahead and get with no credit check, no background check. All you need is a debit or credit card, and they just need some information to make sure that you are a real human being. And that's pretty much it. So if you need to get some equipment today, go ahead and click that link in the description and go to zZounds.com and get you some equipment. But click that link right down here. So a lot of you guys are trying to figure out what is going to be the best tools for you to use when you are producing. Okay, some of you guys like to use DAWs for the convenience and for the comfort of just being able to swing in sounds and do everything inside the DAW. And some of you guys are like me who like to use hardware or sometimes maybe like to use a hybrid setup. Now, I made a video about this maybe about a year and a half, almost close to 2 years ago, about hardware versus a DAW. And I pretty much said that, you know, DAWs are pretty much a pain in the ass to use, but the outcome of it is great. I'm telling you guys right now, in my humble opinion, I feel like when you use hardware, you are getting the best overall sound, the textures of the sound. Even though some of this stuff right now, we know they're pretty much computers and they work the same way as like DAWs, but it's just something when you run something through 1/4-inch cables into a preamp and then that stuff has to get converted over. It is something about that that just gives that sound some extra texture. Don't know what it is. Don't know why it happens like that. All I know is a form of energy and electricity and all that good stuff, but it just sounds better to me and it's easier for me to mix. It's easier for me to get stuff done that way because the sound just has a fuller, warmer texture than when I make beats on a DAW, and that's on any DAW. I've used FL Studio, I've used Logic, Studio One, I've used Reason, Cubase, Nuendo, everything. I've tried it all. I've tried Ableton a little bit, but I can't really get into the Ableton thing. I don't know. But even when I export it from Ableton, it still does not sound like how it sounds when I'm using my MPC or when I'm using any type of hardware synth. I don't know what it is about it. Now, the only thing about it is you're going to have to work a little bit harder when you're using the hardware. So I guess that's why it's called hardware. Okay, no drum feel or nothing, but I thought it was funny. But yeah, it does take a little bit longer, but the results are so much better. Now, when I'm using any type of hardware gear, of course, you got to go through, and if you're trying to get any type of sound that you want, you're going to have to search for it. And then, you know, some of these synths, you can go ahead and save it. You know, to try to get those good texture sounds, you really have to go through it, and then you have to might make some changes inside of it. You might have to turn up some filters or do some modulation, stuff like that to it, and it's not as easy to do on a hardware synth as it is on a DAW. Now, I am an Arturia type of a person. I love Arturia software, and Arturia makes some really good stuff on the DAW. But if you play that stuff on the DAW versus you playing it on an actual keyboard, it is a difference. Now, is it a difference to where somebody is in the club and they're saying, you know what? I think that keyboard is the new Phantom O, or this sound comes from the Arturia collection or whatever. Like nobody that's in a club or listening to music is really thinking about that. Let's just be honest. They're not. However, when you take a lot of those elements, say for instance, when you're making a track on a DAW versus making a track on some hardware, when you take those elements and you put everything together in a song, you will start to notice that you will get the sound that you want a little bit faster. Now, I'm not saying that FL Studio cannot be made to sound like an analog type of a deal. It can. It just needs some work. Like, I think FL Studio has the best drum. It's just something about when FL Studio exports, everything sounds good. It sounds really big, sounds really full, and I like it. However, it's not like using these at all. It's not like using these. Right here, I got the MPC Key 61. I got the Mod X6 Plus. And I got the Phantom O right down here. And when I make beats on these, it's just something that just sounds so much better, so lush about these sounds that it just sounds incredible. And even with these new MPCs, they don't really hit as hard as some of the older MPCs that have like the true analog hardware in them. But these things still hit very good when you run these through an analog chain. I run my stuff through my SSL and it sounds great. And when I run it into my UAD, it sounds even better. Like, I love how it sounds when it runs through my UAD gear. But even on my SSL, it still sounds great. And I don't really spend that much time mixing on it because I do everything in here to get it sounding right before I even send it into the DAW. Yes, you're gonna have to use a DAW at some point. However, a lot of times I just resample everything back into the MP and save it on pads. Or I just take everything and run it directly out into the DAW. Or what I'll do is I'll sample everything onto their own lanes or to their own pads, restructure everything inside of the MPC, and I just bounce it down directly from there. I ain't gonna lie to you, you get a really good sound when you do it that way because everything kind of stays inside, and whatever the MPCs do, it just takes that sounds and it just does something to it. I really don't know. Now, using hardware, yes, it does take a little bit longer, and you're gonna have to apply some music theory and learn like keys and stuff like that, because on here it's not too many helper tools that's gonna help you out. Now, in the MPC, it does let you know where your keys and stuff at on your certain sounds, like if your bass is hitting on C major or F sharp or something like that, but you're gonna have to learn how to play some notes a little bit, okay? However, once you do that, it will really open you up to learning how to produce without having so many helper tools to help you out. Now, another thing is, yes, it takes a little long to go ahead and export things in and out, but my workflow, I actually get done sometimes a lot faster than what I do on my laptop, because a lot of times on the laptop, I'm experimenting with so much stuff that I just get lost in just experimenting rather than getting everything done inside of the keyboard or getting everything done inside the MPC and just being satisfied with that and running it out to the actual program that I'm going to use to actually make it into a song or sequence or whatever. Or like I said, a lot of times I just sequence everything inside the MPC and bounce it down directly from there and I'm done. So yeah, using hardware is definitely a pain in the butt, but the results, I'm telling you, the results are much better. And to be honest with you, every time I bring my hardware into studio, people that use DAWs always want to touch my hardware. Pause. But yeah, every time I bring my gear into the studio, people want to go ahead and use it because they're intrigued on the sound, they're intrigued on how to use it. And after a while, they actually kind of figure it out and they say, hey, it's not that hard. It's not that bad. I think that everybody should try hardware at some point. It's fun. It makes you think a little bit more. It expands your imagination a little bit more because you don't have that much help. And it pushes you beyond your limits because now you have to really develop the sound that you really want. So I hope this video was informative. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.